Hey, what's up guys, BigTuna here, and today we're actually going to be talking about the hot topic that is cooldowns being too important in World of Warcraft. Now you've seen this topic 100 times, mostly associated with big players like Benruki, but I just thought I should give my own insight because I usually have a different way of thinking about certain stuff like this. So hopefully you guys enjoy. My Twitter and Instagram is in the description at Mr. Big Tuna if you want to go follow that. And if you like this video or agree with me, leave a like and consider subscribing. And yeah, let's get right into the video. So by now you've heard like the standard comparison, which is Wrath of the Lich King feels more better than retail WoW. Why is this? Well, Wrath of the Lich King has actual rotational fluency. What I mean by that is your rotation is actually your main source of damage. Now, yes, you do have those 20-second, intervals where you are just doing a lot more damage, but even outside of that little time frame, you still do a lot of damage with just your normal Crusader Strike or your normal Storm Strike or your Lightning Bolts slash Chain Lightnings. Your whole rotation is your main source of damage. Whereas compared to retail, the rotation is just only meant to stall time and delay in order to get that huge 30 to 20 second window of just huge raw one-shot damage. It goes from minor damage, like 50%, to 500%. That's bad. That's really bad. So you've heard that comparison many times, and that's kind of where a lot of players just leave off and they think it's over. It's not really over. Now, is there truth slash lies in this? Yes, I'd say it's mostly true in the fact that, yeah, Wrath of the Lich King is definitely more. It feels better for a lot of players because, as I said before, again, the rotation feels nice. Your abilities actually do damage. It's coming for a more retail person such as myself. Yeah, it is a breath of fresh air to see Crusader Strike. I'm actually playing Ret Paladin in Wrath, or at least in pre-patch. I'm just messing around. It was pre-patch for now. But it feels nice that, Crusader Strike in retail is just some useless builder spender, like it does negative damage, it only generates one holy power, to Wrath of the Lich King, where first off, holy power doesn't even exist, and your Crusader Strike is actually your main big damaging ability. Like, it's crazy. It deals weapon damage, and it deals, it triggers your seals, whatever seal you have active. It's a lot of damage. Same thing with Divine Storm, you know. And then same thing with other classes like LA Shamans, where Chain Lightning is actually their big damage. Their big damage. You can't spam it, but it definitely is their big damage compared to retail, where Chain Lightning is just used for Maelstrom generation, which even then you don't really use it for that much, at least in PvP. So it's it's a wild comparison. Now you go to retail, and yes, okay, the truth still lies there that cooldowns are just so heavily impacted on. Two scenarios happen. You either run into the arena, and I don't know too much about PvE, okay, so this is definitely directed towards PvP players, but hopefully PvE players can share some differences here. But yes, two scenarios happen. You either run in, you pop all your cooldowns, and hey, somebody dies. Somebody is going to die. Or you pop your cooldowns, you force defensive cooldowns, great. Now they pop their cooldowns and they force your defensive cooldowns, and then you get this little ping pong effect. Outside of those cooldowns, you do nothing. You do nothing. And this is also due to the fact that rotations has just changed. Every class is now a builder spender, whether it's soul shards, whether it's just, soul shards or holy power or, maelstrom weapon. Majority of classes in WoW are builder spenders, so their main rotation abilities don't really do any damage except for, like their lightning bolt or their, or their Templar's Verdict. And even then, those abilities don't barely do any damage themselves, but, during that 20 to 30 second interval, that one ability turns up to, 1000% and turns into an actual one shot instead of this little potato damage. That's not good. So yes, there is truth in the fact that, yeah, Wrath of the Lich King feels better. Now, why is this whole conversation? What's the catch of this conversation? Because a lot of WoW players, as much as I hate the quote, it's true. They think they do, but they don't. A lot of players just they see the situation. They say, "Well, Wrath feels way better. Why can't this just be in retail?" I appreciate your charisma and in your big brain for thinking of this stuff, because let me tell you, I wish it was in the game too, but let me tell you that it doesn't just work like that. Here's the stupidity in this, and a lot of players who think this way. It's like comparing a $10 steak to a $100 steak. In theory, it sounds simple. It sounds very simple. But when you actually, accept all the factors that are actually in this process, like the actual cut of meat, where was the cow, where was the cow born and, raised in a good environment, a healthy environment? Is it grass-fed? The actual number/cost of the ingredients you're using, the actual equipment you're using, how much is that equipment? Because $100 and $10, it's a pretty big difference, especially for a lot of restaurants. One, you can cook it in the comfort of your own home, and one is cooked in a not prestigious, but definitely a higher cost environment. So when you factor in stuff like that, you realize that these are two completely different things. Not saying one is better than the other, but they're both different. They both have different processes. And that's wrath and retail. So why is it stupid? Well, here's one of the main reasons why. And although you may think it seems small, it's the main sum up of classic, of the whole classic experience, quote unquote. In Wrath of the Lich King, the reason why consistent damage feels good is because every class is true to themselves. What I mean by that is, not every class has everything. Classes are more definitive to, play to the strengths of your class. Some classes favor more in mobility. Some classes favor more in high burst damage. Some classes favor more in consistent damage. Some classes favor more in CC chains. All this stuff like that actually matters. And then you have kind of the minor stuff where, Crusader Strike and, Divine Storm do a lot of damage, but you actually got to reach your target first in order to get that damage off. Hunters do a lot of damage from range, explosive shot, and getting whatever shot, COVID shot off. It does a lot of damage. But here's the thing: they have to keep X amount of range, or else they can't even use their abilities. Mages and warlocks, yes, they do a lot of damage. Chaos Bolt and Shatters do so much damage, but they're caster, which means they can't really bang with a melee in close combat, and they have to watch out for the mana, or else they're going to go and they can't even press their abilities. So, even though it seems small, and it seems like, well, we knew that, great, now you know the problem here. Retail WoW has changed, I'd say ever since MOP, from when stuff like this, since it started to become crystal clear where the direction they were going with, where every class was getting some big one-shotty cooldowns. Ascendance / Storm Blast was kind of like that whole feel of the game. So retail is, again, a completely different game in terms of classes. Every class has everything. There's no definitive defining that's the same word. There's no defining line between every class, which makes consistent damage hard to add because you can already hear the complaints on Twitter. Why the hell am I dying to, Chaos Bolt, no cooldowns? What is this bull malarkey? Why am I dying to Frostbolt and Shatters, no cooldowns? Like, what? This class is so OP. You can already hear the complaints about this, which is why, as much as I would love for consistent damage to be added, why I'm not really hopping on the whole train of, hey, let's just do this already. No, it's a lot more complicated than that. Because, like I said, every class has everything. There's no defining line of, hey, this class has a lot of damage, but they actually have to reach me first. No, every class has mobility, every class has defensives, every class can live, every class can heal, in some form of way. Every class has one-shot damage, every class. And then the one thing that every class does share is every class has, quote-unquote, the same level of damage outside of cooldowns, aka none. Now, obviously, these separate factors or separate aspects of each class definitely scale higher with certain classes. Like CC is obviously more favored towards, classes that can spam CC, or just classes that have a lot of, buttons that can CC. So rogues, mages, stuff like that, locks, stuff like that. And then some classes are favored towards rotational fluency, which is why I actually really love Enhancement Shaman in Shadowlands. Although it's not the most fun / the most insane class, it does stay true to the whole rotational fluency as I'm talking about, because it's a cooldown based rotation class. Everything is on cooldown. Storm Strike, your shocks, and all of that is used. Your lava lash, all that is used to get Melting Weapon to get lightning bolts out and chain lightnings or elemental blast and heals. And your burst is your rotation, just constantly getting resets with your Storm Strike through your tier set and your, Witch Doctor Wolf Bones, and getting your Feral Spirits reset, Enhanced Shaman is a prime example of having a class that is good rotational wise. Like I said, it does a lot of damage because your burst is your rotation. Even without your burst, which is very rare that you actually don't have Feral Spirits up, your damage is still, really decent. Enhanced Shaman is a prime example of having a class that is good rotation synergy, and yet it's not overpowered and doesn't make the game just, it doesn't make everyone's lives miserable. You know what I'm saying? So, although Enhanced Shaman is a good example, again, it's really, it's not that I'm disagreeing with players that, hey, we should add consistent damage back into the game. But it's definitely something where it's like, WoW players they want a lot of good stuff and their hearts are in the right place, but man, they don't think about everything else. They think, oh, this sounds good, I want it. They don't think about all the different factors that actually, get affected when stuff like this is brought up. Same thing with like the Conquest Cap. The removal of Conquest Cap was good, it was amazing. But even though it was a good idea, yes, some WoW players have to admit that you have to put down the whole Blizzard hate and, oh, I hate you, Blizzard, facade, and be like, you know what? Yeah, I admit that I was at least shocked when, I thought that we're just going to remove Conquest Cap and like, boom, everybody's going to get gear. Well, you get your main geared, which is amazing, but then you go to your alt and you're facing everybody who's in full Cosmic, whatever in full Gladiator gear. Like, wow, this is going to be a fun time, and you're just going to get dominated over and over again. So, yeah, a lot of players didn't really expect that. So, we can at least just sit back and admit that, yeah, we were at least shocked that the outcome wasn't fully as we expected. And that mindset is what I'm taking into this conversation. Is I'm trying to think of like every possible, not outcome, but all the different factors of this to make sure I'm understood with this topic. Because like I said, it sounds great to have consistent damage back into the game, and at least try and scale cooldowns a little bit less to where, yeah, maybe it does play like Wrath, where your damage is fine, your damage is like a steady line here, and then for like the next 20 seconds or so, it definitely does spike up a good bit, and your damage is not necessarily doubled, but probably multiplied by like 1.5, and then it goes back down, and then, yeah, you're still doing a lot of damage without those cooldowns, and you're still forcing defensives, and you're still forcing, people to play safe, and vice versa. So, although it sounds like a great idea, it just, especially with the fact that, in Wrath, it's very less scripted, and Wrath does so well with damage, whereas in retail, you just have so much just random, even when you're not trying to do damage, even if you're looking at somebody, like Wrath just does so much better with how damage works, and retail, it's just so like cluttered. It's so cluttered, it's clustered, whatever the term you want to use, and it just makes the game unfun, and especially with, one shots like dying and just knowing that if this guy didn't line up 3 abilities with his burst, there was no way he's gonna kill me. It just infuriates people. It does, because it is infuriating. Like, there's a reason why, retail is just not new player friendly, but you don't need like 2100 XP to do well in stuff like arena or whatever content you want to push. No, so long as you press your burst button and line up the 3 abilities that do the most damage with your burst, you're fine. because you're gonna one shot anything, or you're gonna top charts, because that's just how the game works. It 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 favors just what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? It favors unscripted playstyles compared to actual class maximizing utility playstyle. Is that the I have it in my head, but I don't know what words to use, but you know what I'm saying. In Wrath, you have to actually use everything in your toolkit, whereas, in retail, you just need to kill the guy. Like, you just need to kill the guy before he kills you. Like, and how do you do that? Well, you just pop your cooldowns in, he most likely is going to die. So it's again, it's just frustrating. It's just really, it just makes the game unfun, which is why Enhance is, a prime example of just having a class with good rotational fluency. Not saying it's good, because, again, it can live at certain points, but as I said before, some classes are favored other in certain aspects, and defensiveness is not particularly favored with Shaman. So there is that, but it's just, yeah, it's infuriating. It's it's just boring. It's drawn out. So, do I necessarily agree with adding consistent damage in the game? Of course I do. But I do think that a lot of players who do want it in the game aren't thinking clear enough, or aren't thinking about everything else that's getting factored in, or how this actually affects classes and stuff like that. And of course, this conversation can bleed out to stuff like, actually revamping a lot of classes, because again, everything is just the same now. Every class is the same. It does the same damage. It has the same, playstyle of just going in, running in a burst. Every class can live. Every class has this and that, So this one topic can lead into a bunch of conversations that just really revolve around, how the game actually functions nowadays compared to Wrath of the Lich King. So, yeah, but that's just what I wanted to, say. So, yeah, if you agreed with any points that I made, then definitely like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.